The rain fell like shattered glass from a furious sky, drenching the city in a cold, unforgiving blur. People rushed under awnings and bus stops, clutching bags and newspapers, trying to escape the storm that had swallowed the morning. But amid the chaos, one figure remained still. A man soaked through, breath trembling, eyes sharp with instinct, was sprinting toward a screech of metal and a terrified cry. It was the sound that changed everything. The sound that made a single father risk everything for a stranger who would later turn out to be the most powerful woman in the city. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of unexpected human connections, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kind Heart Stories to support more touching tales like this one. The city of West Haven was just beginning to wake when the accident happened. Celine Marlowe, the sharply polished CEO of Marlowe Innovations, known for her poised public image and relentless drive, had been running late for a board meeting that would determine the future of her company. She stepped out of her car, umbrella in hand, heels clicking on the slick pavement, unaware that a delivery van coming around the corner had lost control on the soaked street. Time seemed to slow, rain suspended in mid-air, as the van skidded toward her. Celine froze, a primal fear rooting her in place. And then, before she even registered it, someone slammed into her with tremendous force, sending both of them tumbling to the concrete as the van grazed past inches from her head. The stranger who saved her didn't speak, didn't wait, didn't let her ask who he was. He pushed himself to his feet, despite the pain etched across his face, made sure she was breathing, and then melted into the chaotic crowd before security could catch up. Celine, trembling and dazed, searched frantically for him, his shadow, his direction, any sign of the man who risked his life for hers, but he was gone as quickly as he had appeared. His name was Eric Nolan, a man the world rarely noticed, but who carried a quiet strength in the way he moved. Eric had lived a life defined by sacrifice long before that rainy morning. A widowed single father raising his 7-year-old daughter, Kyla, he worked 2 jobs, warehouse loader by dawn, neighborhood handyman by afternoon, exhausted parent by night. His life wasn't glamorous, but it held meaning. Everything he did for Kayla, who carried her late mother's gentle smile. Arik never expected recognition. He never imagined that saving someone's life, especially someone like Celine Marlowe, would ripple into something larger. He only knew that when he saw danger, he acted. And once the adrenaline faded, pain wrapped around his ribs like a vice. He suspected something cracked, but he didn't have the luxury of hospitals. Medical bills were a nightmare he couldn't afford. So he gritted his teeth, finished his shift, and picked Kayla up from school as if nothing had happened. But Celine couldn't forget him. Over the following days, she replayed the moment again and again, haunted by the fact that she was still alive because of someone she couldn't thank. As the press got wind of the near accident, the city buzzed with questions and speculation. Who was the unknown hero? Why did he disappear? And why had the powerful CEO become unusually quiet and introspective? At the office, Celine found herself staring out the window more often, her thoughts drifting. She had built her identity around strength, unflinching, immaculate, always in control. Yet when the van had come barreling toward her, she was fragile, she was human, and it was a stranger, not her wealth, not her influence, not her bodyguards, who saved her. Meanwhile, Eric hid the injury under layers of stoicism and worn-out jackets, pretending to be stronger than he felt. Kyla noticed, of course. Children always notice. She'd press her small hand against his side when he winced, whispering, "Daddy, does it hurt a lot?" And Eric would smile through the pain, replying, "Only a little, it'll get better soon." Celine began quietly funding searches, offering rewards, reaching out to hospitals and shelters, not out of pity, but from deep gratitude that clawed at her heart. She didn't realize that Eric was intentionally avoiding the places where authorities might look. He didn't think of himself as a hero. He didn't want news coverage or money or a handshake from a CEO. Eric wanted only to preserve his simple life with Kayla. But fate had already entwined their paths. One late afternoon, as the golden daylight spilled gently over the city, Celine's sleek black car turned onto a quiet neighborhood street where she planned to meet a community partner. She wasn't expecting to see the very man she had been searching for, kneeling on one knee, repairing a neighbor's fence, with a small girl holding the tools for him. Her breath caught. Eric Nolan. The air felt heavier around her. Memories of the moment he saved her surged forward, just as powerful as the day it happened. Celine stepped out of the car slowly, her heart pounding. She didn't announce herself. She simply walked closer, watching him work, noticing the tiredness in his shoulders, the tenderness in the way he spoke to his daughter. When he finally looked up and recognized her, shock flared in his eyes, followed quickly by discomfort. He wiped his hands on his worn jeans and stood awkwardly, unsure what to say. Celine felt a swell of emotion rise inside her, a mixture of relief, gratitude, and something quieter, deeper. She thanked him, not with grand gestures, not with corporate language, but with a trembling voice and earnest sincerity. She expected him to accept her gratitude, maybe even feel proud. Instead, Eric gave a small nod and said it was nothing, that anyone would have done the same. But Celine knew that wasn't true. She saw the pain in the way he held himself and realized he had been hurt that day. Her guilt twisted sharply. She insisted he let a doctor examine him. She could arrange everything, cover every expense. Eric refused at first, stubborn in the way people become when life has taught them not to rely on others. Yet it wasn't her status that finally persuaded him. It was Kayla, tugging on his sleeve and whispering, "Daddy, please? I don't want you to hurt." After that, Celine learned about the Nolans not through reports or searches, but through quiet conversations, shared moments, and gentle walls lowering with time. Eric wasn't just a man who saved her life. He was a man who fought for his daughter every day, giving her a life richer in love than money could ever buy. Kyla was bright, imaginative, endlessly curious traits Celine admired deeply. Days turned into weeks, and the distance between their worlds slowly shrank. Celine found herself visiting the neighborhood more often, bringing books for Kayla, offering small acts of support without overstepping. What surprised her most was how natural it felt, how grounding, how human. Eric struggled with the attention. He was used to going unnoticed, blending into the noise of everyday life. But in Celine's presence, he felt seen, not judged for his struggles, not dismissed for his simplicity, seen for who he was. And Celine? For the first time in years, she felt warmth soften the edges of her ambition. She discovered joy in ordinary things, conversations on front porches, laughter shared over small mistakes, the comfort of people who lived without pretense. She found herself wanting to do more than repay a debt. She wanted to be part of their lives, to help in ways that felt meaningful. But even in those moments of quiet beauty, a shadow loomed. Marlowe Innovations entered its most turbulent period yet. Investors grew restless. A hostile takeover threatened everything Celine built. She threw herself into saving the company, pulling long nights, taking harsh criticism, battling loneliness that clung to her like a cold fog. And through it all, Eric noticed her wearing thin. One evening, after a brutal day of negotiations, Celine arrived at Eric's apartment building, looking exhausted to the bone. She didn't need to speak. Eric simply offered her a seat, poured her tea, and let silence wrap around them like a blanket. Kayla drew her a picture, a heart with 3 stick figures inside it, labeled, "My Friends." Celine cried quietly, overwhelmed by the warmth she had longed for without realizing it. Yet Celine feared she would drag Eric into her storm. That getting closer would put him and Kayla in the harsh spotlight of corporate scandals and media attention. And Eric feared he wasn't enough for someone like her, that he couldn't offer a life of luxury or certainty. They were both holding a hope they were too afraid to name. Eventually, Celine saved her company, not by being ruthless or cold, but by embracing compassion and resilience she had learned from Eric and Kayla. She made decisions that favored her employees, earned back trust, and redefined what leadership meant to her. When the turmoil eased, Celine returned to Eric, not needing rescuing this time, but wanting connection. She stood before him, on a bright morning, the sunlight warming the street, and confessed that he had changed her life, far beyond the day he saved her. She told him she wanted to walk forward, not toward repayment or gratitude, but toward possibility. Eric's voice trembled when he admitted he felt the same, that she had brought color and hope into a life he thought would always be defined by survival. Kyla hugged Celine as if sealing a silent promise between them all. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kind Heart Stories. Your support helps these emotional, uplifting stories reach more people who need them. Special request: comment, kindness lives on, if this story made you believe in unexpected miracles and human connection. And so, under the warm daylight of an ordinary morning, two worlds that never should have crossed, one shaped by power, the other by quiet perseverance, found their way to each other. Not because of destiny, but because of the simple, extraordinary courage found in acts of kindness, second chances, and hearts willing to change.